The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. I'm going to try to start most of these shows with something positive, and today the positive is that all the outreach that I've received from numerous people, most importantly, a guy that's been with me since day one in my journey in podcasting and other stuff as well, as far as just being a generally good person. And that's my former podcast partner, Jonathan Lewis. He's been with me the last couple of weeks off and on. He's been real busy starting a new job. Congratulations to Jonathan on that. He's landed a pretty decent job, and I'm real happy for him. But he supported me these last couple of weeks in more ways than one, and I just want to give him a shout out and tell him how much I love him. Also, Tim Gillespie and Bobby Reeves reached out to me in private message on Facebook. Tim is a pastor and Bobby is an associate pastor, and they're going to try to help me reconcile some of my beliefs and maybe try to help me spiritually in my belief in God and trying to help me going forward into trying to be a better man for everybody out there. Now, the topic I want to talk about today is Oklahoma promise. That's right. The promise that Oklahoma is showing, and the epic statement, in my opinion, that Brent Venables made after the close loss to Florida State this past Thursday night in the cheez-it Bowl. I think it used to be called something else, man. I hate these logos taking over bowl game names. They could put the logo on the field and call it maybe the Citrus Bowl brought to you by cheez-it instead of changing the name, but that's neither here nor there. But that's what I want to talk about. So let's talk about it. Back in the saddle again, just 1 or 2 days away from this year being over. Another year in the books. Man, it just flies by, don't it? Just seems like yesterday I was at prom with my wife-to-be, and man, we're already at 2023. That's right. And this is the OCF, that's Outlaw of College Football. I'm also on Facebook under Jesse Paul Clark, spelled J-S-S-E without the I. And on Twitter at OCF Productions. Now, getting right into it, I just want to touch on the Oklahoma bowl game last night. That while that was a loss, to me it showed a lot in the players that stuck around and had the character to show up for that game, and the character of Brent Venables and his staff to recognize these guys that stuck around and saw Brent Venables through his pretty tumultuous first season, and how he had to start off basically handicapped from the get-go. Like I've said numerous times, being gutted of 40 players. And then ironically, at the end of this year, some of the players opted out. So that's probably a total of almost 50 players that Brent Venables was down. And yet this guy landed a top 10 class, his first recruiting cycle, and then this second recruiting cycle, he has a top 5 class with a 6 and 7 year, and he managed to keep just about everybody that I'm aware of. Nobody flipped. So this is what I want to read out, and I'm going to throw a graph up too to show you what Brent Venables said pertaining to this team after the game. He said, "Keep your head up, square that jaw up. When you invest a lot, it hurts when you come up short. That's a good thing." Team 128. I'm assuming that's the 128th edition of the Oklahoma Sooners. Team 128, the foundation's been laid. My love for you, my respect for you, my appreciation for you doesn't have anything to do with the scoreboard. Hashtag OUDNA. And me, the hashtag should be sacrifice, because that's what Brent Venables, this coaching staff, and these players that stuck around through the entire season did in laying a foundation and keeping Oklahoma from completely embarrassing itself. It didn't look good in the middle of the year, when they lost Dylan Gable and got blown out by Texas. It would have been easy for a lot of teams to just fold up, no matter the tradition. We've seen it happen in the past, even with my team Alabama in the past. Under Mike Shula, under Mike DeBose, had 3-9 or 3-8, 4-9 seasons under both these coaches, because they lost that one game in the middle of the year, and that coach didn't have the fortitude to get the players' minds right and to work them through their doubts and to get them to try to finish the season strong and to finish it with a little pride. And that's what you saw out there. You saw an Oklahoma team that was handicapped from the start of the year last year to an Oklahoma team that got handicapped even more in the final game when a lot of players opted out. And yet, without a fourth quarter turnover in the early part of the fourth quarter, Oklahoma likely wins that game. Maybe even by 2 scores, because there's no telling how Florida State would have reacted had Oklahoma scored on that drive. And if they had scored on that drive, even if Florida State comes back and scores and Oklahoma scores that second score, they're probably going to win that game comfortably by at least 10 points, if not 7. So, to me, it says a lot that Oklahoma and their staff was able to gather these guys up, even in the face of so many adverse situations and all the rumblings and what Nick Saban and all the other coaches now to call rat poison out there, to just get these guys to finish strong in the face of adversity. And like you said, the scoreboard doesn't say it all. The scoreboard does say it sometimes, but it doesn't always say it all. Now, if Oklahoma had went out there and rolled over and got blown out by 20 or 30 points by Florida State, you might have could have said that, maybe this was just a wasted bowl game or a wasted opportunity to make these players grow. But the fact that they were able to go into that game handicapped even more with more players opting out and keep that game close with the number 13 team in the nation now. It's a 6-6 ball club that's had a lot of chances to quit. And they're having to play a team that's almost in the top 10. And they played that team to the last minute. They played that team to the point where I thought, just from looking at them on the field, that Oklahoma was actually the better team. And that says volumes about Brent Venables. And like I said earlier in this podcast, not only that, but he kept a top 5 class intact, even through all this. Everybody's like, well, they had a losing record. It's the first time it's happened since the 90s. Yeah, but it was barely a losing record. 6-7, 7-6, not much difference in what you're trying to do. And that's exactly what happened with Nick Saban and Bob Stoops in their first seasons when they rebuilt traditionally powerful programs back to being traditionally powerful programs. It looks eerily a lot like what Nick Saban done his first year, just one game off. So my advice to the Oklahoma fans out there, the contingent that are railing on Brent Venables about having a losing record this year, is you need to look at the big picture. The big picture is that no, he didn't come in and go 11-2 like Tebow did with an inferior schedule. But he did come in and lay a solid foundation. You saw glimmers of hope earlier in the year, and in the middle of the year, they come around, beat their in-state rival, Oklahoma State, and finished the year fighting an almost top 10 school to the very last minute. And while Linky Boy may have had an 11-2 year and a nice little bowl game in the Cotton Bowl, the thing is, his 11-2 year doesn't look quite as impressive as far as 11-2 seasons go, because how they ended it with Utah getting blown out, and the fact that he wasn't able to finish higher than 15th in recruiting with all these supposed advantages and the fact that you can't recruit to Oklahoma, but you can recruit to Los Angeles. And yet, they finished 10 spots behind Brent Venables, who was handicapped, and finished up with a 6-7 season and a nice bowl trip. Like I said, it looks eerily similar to what Nick Saban and Bob Stoops did their first year. Wow. Tebow looks eerily similar to Gene Cheez-it and to Larry Coker. And we know how those guys ended up. All I'm saying is look at the big picture. Look at the foundation that's being laid. And then give a true assessment. I think you'll find that you can see that the foundation is being laid and the future is bright for Oklahoma football going forward. And that's all I got to say about that. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Also, there's a heart down here. If you don't mind, hit that. Throw a few dollars in the coffers. Get me off the YouTube teat. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.